A little book about requirements and user stories, or Little Book, as I sometimes call it, um, has consistently surprised me. It's 5 years old now, but it still sells well. In fact, all through its history, it's surprised me by how much it's sold, how popular it has been. It is my bestseller. A bit different from my other books. Little Book of Requirements and User Stories is a collection of little tips and suggestions and pieces of advice for, well, requirements and user stories. Over the years, I found I was being asked the same questions about user stories. Why use user stories? Who writes the user stories? What is the right size for a story? What's the difference between a story, an epic, and a task? And similar questions. I found I was giving the same advice again and again. And I thought, I should write this advice down. I went for about a year thinking I must write this advice down, and then I went to see a client in the US, and I had 10 hours on a plane from London to Dallas, and I thought I'll use this time I'll write some of this advice down, and then I'll eat and I'll watch a film. As it was, I typed for almost the entire flight. That eventually formed the basis for a series of articles that appeared in Agile Connection. If you go to agileconnection.com, you can find my user stories articles. And when we finished with that series, I rolled them all together into this book. I added some additional chapters that didn't appear in the Agile Connection articles. I added some chapters from articles I'd written elsewhere. And we put it on sale as an ebook, and it sold. So I made it into a print book, and it sold. So we made it into an audio book, and it continues to sell. So please have a look.